All right, guys, we're doing an instructional video today on how to use for a not just glucose monitor, but we've got ketones, lactate, and new total cholesterol. So I wanted to do a video to explain how to use it because I think you'd want to have this at home and test and not guess yourself. So thank you guys for coming on. Do a quick video, explain how we should use this and why we should use it.
Absolutely. Sounds great. Well, yeah, we can just jump straight into it. I've got my colleague Eric here. I'm Dylan, by the way, part of the marketing team here at Fora. And yeah, we can just jump straight into it.
We'll
Okay,
talk about, yeah, tell us what it is first.
here's the package that it comes in. We call it the Test and Go Advanced Voice because it has a voice feature. You'll notice the box has green trim on it that corresponds to the strips that are wrapped in green foil. All of our strips have different colors on the boxes to indicate they do different things. Here's a box that the lactate strips come in. You can see it's also green.
Yeah, that's
There's
it.
glucose. It's got kind of a gray color to it. The ketone strips have a lavender color on them, and the total cholesterol strips have kind of a gold color. So that's how you know what you're ordering when you get on the website and what you're using. The device itself, very small, compact, very easy to use. If you're going to do setup on the device, there's a right and left button. And let's see if I can turn it around. On either side, you press both those buttons at the same time.
The
And
bottom two?
yeah, those two at the same time. And then it'll take you into setup mode. And the first thing it'll ask you to do is set the date and time. Basically, you use the left and right arrows to.
Millimoles per liter. It's talking, sorry.
Got the speaking function too.
Yeah, so you use the left and right buttons to scroll through the different numbers for setting the date and time. When you get the
Lactate is
just the setting that you're currently on will be flashing. So when you first set the meter up, the year will be flashing. You use the left and right buttons to get to the correct year. Then you press the center button to set that setting.
okay.
That process continues for the time. You set the hour, you set the minutes, and then you go through some other settings like the language that you wanted to use, the volume, the voice volume, whether you want the meter to set alarms to tell you, hey, it's time to test. There's 4 alarms you can set, and you basically just scroll through those various settings. Once you're done, the meter will say off and turn itself off.
And with the speaking function too, it is, available in English, Spanish, and also Chinese. So you can adjust that too when you're in the setup function as well.
Those are trying to learn Chinese. That would be good educational session.
There you go. Yeah.
All directions in Chinese. It's always the goal to learn the language. Good. And then there's this little bottle in here, and it comes with finger and lancet. So explain what this is.
Yeah, that is what we call control solution. Basically, it's a liquid that has a pre-measured amount of content, like lactate content in it. You use that to kind of test the meter to make sure it's accurate. You use that liquid in place of blood and run a test with the test strip as if you were doing a blood test, but you use this liquid. And it'll return a reading, which should, on the test strips, have a range on the back here on the printing of where the control solution should be measuring. So, for example, our strips, it says L1, which is the name of the solution, 1.2 to 1.8 millimoles per. So basically, when you test with the control solution, you want the number to fall within that range to indicate that your meter is accurate. It's accurate with the control solution.
So you're calibrating it, basically.
Not so
No?
much calibrating as checking.
Okay.
If you test with the control solution and you get a reading that's outside of the range that's specified on the strips, then there might be something wrong with the meter. I've done a lot of support for these various meters. I've never seen a control solution test fall outside the range. So the control solution and the meters are very accurate.
Good. Now, you have the glucose. Most people know glucose. Can we go over that? And then ketones people know, but lactate and cholesterol pretty new to people to measure. So let's start with glucose measurement and anything on there you want to teach us how to set up, because I know there's these different markers to like this to calibrate your machines. So if I was doing different tests, as this is total cholesterol, if I shift to lactate to glucose, how do we switch it so we can do a glucose test? Is there any secrets?
Sure. So the meter, as you mentioned, will test 4 parameters: glucose, ketone, total cholesterol, and lactate. The meters are already pre-programmed to test for glucose, so you don't have to do anything special other than insert a glucose strip, poke your finger, get a little droplet of blood, and apply it to the strip. So glucose already set to go. If you're using one of the other parameters, ketone, cholesterol, or lactate, that's when you use what we call the code key. It's a coding strip. What that does is there's a number on it. As you can see, it always says 607. And that number corresponds to a code number that's on the strips. So what you're doing with that code key is you're telling the meter, I'm now using this batch of strips for doing, in your case, cholesterol tests.
Got it.
So it doesn't, once again, a lot of people like to use the word calibrate. You're not calibrating the machine. You're basically setting it to accept the strips that are about to be used.
And you're going to want to make sure and hang on to that code key as well, because say, one day you are testing for lactate and then you go and you switch over to glucose. If you wanted to go back and switch to lactate again, you want to make sure that the device does know that you would be testing for lactate. So make sure and hang on to the code key that is aligned to that specific, test strips. But as Eric mentioned, there is no code key needed for glucose, given that the device is already programmed for it. But when you do want to switch back over to, say, lactate or total cholesterol, you're going to have to insert that code key again.
So what if I'm doing all the tests back to back on myself or somebody else? I have to each time, so I do glucose, take this out, and then put this is cholesterol in. I'm going to do cholesterol, so I need to set this up on here and then push the middle button, or walk us through that scenario.
Yeah, so you don't have to press the button, but yes, if you're switching between strips, I would recommend that you do use the code key before you start using that other batch of strips.
Okay, so say I just did glucose and says I'm 82 glucose, but I want to do cholesterol. So I put this in there. Do I need to do anything? It still says glucose. Is there anything special when I put the cholesterol key in there?
No, once you put the code key in there, the meter will return a number. The number that's on the display should correspond to the test strips that you're about to use. The test strips will have a range of numbers on there. I'm sorry, the code key. The code will be on the strips.
Well, I put this in, but it's not doing anything. Do I need to push a button?
Okay, so pull it out. Now, what's the number on the code key?
568.
Okay, first turn your meter off. Press the center button and hold it until it says off. Okay, now that it's off, go ahead and insert the code key. And it should return the same number that's on the code key.
So you have to turn it off in between and reset it, basically?
Yes.
Okay, so then
Yeah, so that
Yeah.
means it's
pH,
checking.
and then it says the number.
Then it
Yep.
says
Alright.
568. So basically what you've just done is told that meter, we're now going to use cholesterol strips codes 568.
Okay,
And then you might want to just confirm, look at the strips and make sure on the foil wrapper it says code 568.
yep, 568. Now it also says L1, 135 to 225. Is that
That's the
for?
control solution. L1
Okay,
refers to the control solution. So if you were going to do a control solution test, you would insert a test strip and you take the control solution and basically you shake it up really good. You open the bottle up and the cap has a little indentation on it, kind of a dimple. And that's designed to hold one drop of fluid. So you want to
oh,
put it on a flat surface like a table
mm-hmm.
and then just squeeze out one little drop of the fluid onto the cap. And then that's basically replicating getting a drop of blood on your finger, but you're using the control solution with the test strip. The test strip will absorb the fluid just like it would with your blood. And then
Mm-hmm.
the meter will return a reading. That number should fall within the range of the what it says L1 on the foil wrapper for the strips.
Now this is total cholesterol. This one says for lactate. Is there different ones for
Yes.
each
Yeah.
test then?
Yeah. So this is lactate. It's got green on the bottle.
Yeah, this is
I have a bottle of ketone and cholesterol. Ketone has lavender on the bottle.
so color coded like that.
Yeah.
Keep it simple, universal language.
Cholesterol is going to be more yellow.
Yellow.
So
Yeah.
there's different control solution for each type of test.
Okay, so say I'm going to do my cholesterol, just to walk, people put it in the wrong way, I'm sure all the time. So you get this strip and there, which end goes in, just, I know which one, but this is
Yeah.
key, which end is their blood. You're going to click your blood finger, and
Right.
then you have a little blood and you'll just tab it when it's in there. But I think the biggest mistake is easy to do that people put it in the wrong way.
Yeah, that's not uncommon, but generally people know how to do it. You want the handle side, that's where the colored printing is. You see it's yellow. That's face up on the meter when you stick it into the end. And
Now, do I
the
turn
side
this on?
no. The meter will turn on when the strip is inserted. It'll recognize the strip and it'll give you the little chiming noise and tell you to relax during testing.
Is that
So-
relaxing music?
Yeah. And so you inserted it the right way. And then once again, I think it's important to know when you're actually
Please apply blood to the strip.
when you actually poke your finger and get your little blood droplet, it's important that you just bring the meter and strip down to your finger. Some people want to just drop a droplet onto the strip. That's not going to work. That you'll get an error. So you'll want to bring it down to your finger.
Yeah, sort of kind of at an angle here so you can collect it here and then make
So
sure
you bring it that to your finger?
Bring the meter down.
Yeah, kind of like
that.
Down.
Bring it down to the blood droplet. Right.
Now, I was listening to Andy Gaplin's a podcast on lactate testing. He was saying make sure you draw blood, then dab it, and then do the next droplet. So it's not just fresh blood.
Yeah, the recommendation is you poke your finger, the first droplet of blood that comes out, go ahead and wipe it off. And then the second droplet you're able to squeeze from your finger, go ahead and use that for your test.
And then you just hit it.
You just touch it until that little reservoir end fills up completely. You'll be able to see it draw the blood into the strip. And then the meter will count down from 4 and give you the reading.
So this one's a total cholesterol. So it's a 1 minute countdown.
Yeah. Each one has a little bit different of a time frame. I believe lactate's only 5 seconds, but total cholesterol is a little bit longer. But main thing is too, we do see it quite a bit, just making sure you're getting enough blood in the port on the test strip, which is pretty easy to tell. You can see if that port's been all the way filled up with blood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the meter has various error messages that it might return if the test was done incorrectly. Like EF, error fill, means the strip wasn't filled properly.
So you
E,
didn't get enough blood on it, the right angle?
or it was smeared on
Mm.
the strip rather than just nicely drawn into the strip.
Cholesterol is 255 milligrams per
Oh,
deciliter.
255.
yeah.
It says. I have to see what my blood work. That's high.
So the other errors you might encounter are like EU, which means you're using a used strip that it's already been
Meter is
either
searching. Meter is
now
searching.
it's looking to pair with the app when it does that.
Yeah, because it is Bluetooth capable, so that i4 smart app that you just downloaded on your phone.
Yeah.
I guess if we can just jump right into that and I can show you. So on the main page of the
Yeah.
i4 smart app, yep, would look like
Good.
that. You can see ours has already been paired, so we have a lactate test. Looks like it's blurry there. But if you go ahead and hit the three ellipses up at the top left corner, and then hit Bluetooth pairing, the first option that comes up.
Well, I just have this. Is that what I got? This menu page comes up.
I believe that's the page where you can select which parameters
Yeah.
you want to test for.
Oh,
So
there.
make
So done.
sure-
Okay, I'll do that. And then click top.
And then the
right.
three left, the three lines in the top
Oh,
left.
left.
corner.
Yes.
And then it should
Bluetooth.
say Bluetooth pairing.
Yep.
And then go ahead and hit search and hold it next to your meter there.
Oops, I turned it off. So what is the benefit of having it speak
Cholesterol is
to tell you your
Uh,
cholesterol is really high?
5 milligrams per deciliter.
Is that
Some
for people?
Yeah, some people just like to hear the reading out loud. Also, the speaker, you could set it anywhere from 0 to 7 in terms of volume. 7 is the loudest. 0 means you turned it off. Some people just want to turn it off entirely. Some people want to have it speak to them because they're using alarms. They've set up an alarm for 8 a.m., for example. The meter will say, time to test, or it'll chime, and so you'll know, oh, there's my meter, I better take my test. So with a lot of our devices, not just the blood testing devices, but like blood pressure devices that we have, they have a voice feature because some people just want to hear the numbers rather than look at the screen. Some people might have vision problems or something like that. So hearing the numbers is easier for them.
Okay.
And then to go back to the app, did your meter
Yeah.
pop up there? Yeah. So you want to go
So
ahead and
that's here.
yeah. So make sure and click that arrow that's next to the TNG Advanced there, just to make sure. Okay, good. So now you're connected. Now hit the arrow.
The left
top
arrow,
left?
the left arrow at the top left, you select yes.
Yep.
For save and leave, yes.
Now your Test and Go Advanced Voice has now been paired.
And now it's importing records.
Yep, there you go.
Okay.
So now when you click on total cholesterol, that reading that you just did should be imported into the app.
Now, I know my cholesterol is often high and I don't freak out about it, but it is higher. Have you done any correlations of blood chemistry panel versus the finger prick on the total cholesterol since that's newer research?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that one?
Have you done testing on the accuracy of this versus getting your blood tested at a lab on total cholesterol?
Well, okay, so our meters are FDA approved, which means we have to meet certain standards of accuracy as per the FDA. Be frank with you, when you go to the doctor's office and they draw blood and they test your cholesterol, they're sending it off to a lab that has a big $2 million machine that has a lot more capability than a handheld home device. Now, we're accurate within FDA requirements. But if you test your finger at the doctor's office and you get that 255, and then he draws blood and sends it off to the lab, it might come back 252 or 257 or something like that. So it's not going to match precisely what the big $10 million machine can do.
Yeah,
But it will give you a accuracy
baseline.
within FDA requirements.
Right.
Okay, good. So the other ones on here, so we could do the lactate and we'll go back to that. Uric acid, is that a new one?
Uric acid's a special case. The machines were originally designed to test for uric acid, but not long ago, the FDA passed a new ruling that uric acid strips require a physician's prescription to get the strips. So we had to take them off of our website and not offer them as just a direct to customer mail order thing. So the app was designed to work with the meter to test uric acid. And indeed, if you go to your doctor and you get the prescription, you get our strips for the uric acid test, it will work and it'll measure it. But just caveat is that the strips have to be obtained by a prescription from a doctor at this point. The other kind of thing I'll mention is, I don't know how up you are on how pharmacies work and all that, but there's this number called an NDC number. Stands for National Drug something. But that's how pharmacies identify what the drug is, what the product is that they're dispensing. So our strip has an NDC number, the uric acid strip. So if you're going to your doctor and you want to get ForaCare uric acid strips, they can get the NDC number off the website and tell the doctor, hey, I need these strips to work with my meter. So please write a prescription for it, and then they could go get it filled. Also, our strips probably won't work with another brand of meter. I don't know other meters, but certainly their strips won't work with our meters. So you want to use ForaCare, Fora strips with Fora meters. That's kind of a restriction there.
Good. Interesting. And it also, so on the menu board, it says, so ketones, uric acid, lactate, total cholesterol, and triglycerides. Is that working yet?
Not yet.
Super cool. This is amazing. And I must show that on the top corner, I see a little button that says GKI, and it's the glucose ketone index that Keto Mojo talks about. And then my friend is on here. I didn't know. Dr. Boz ratio. Talk about, anyone want to familiar with the Dr. Boz ratio if you want to speak to that info?
Yeah, I used to know that ratio math by heart, but I haven't looked at it recently. But I think what it's doing
What
is
tells you.
figuring.
I have cheat notes if you
There
need
you
it.
go.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to know that math by heart, but I'm sorry, I don't have it memorized right now.
It's okay. I'll tell you. Dr. Boz ratio is blood glucose divided by ketones. So Dr. Boz talks about all this time on her Instagram videos, but you can know the relationship between blood glucose and blood ketones. So she has her ratio and what it is, the ketones. So you can do all that, the ketones, blood glucose, and then look at her ratio together. And then the glucose GK index has had another relation between blood glucose and blood ketones as well, and blood glucose divided by ketones. So that's the glucose ketone index calculator to monitor metabolic management of brain cancer is the research that's for, which is what Dr. Boz is talking a lot about too, is the brain cancer. And I'm working with some doctors here in Solana Beach on brain health, the cognitive decline. And I think it's actually a growing area, but how ketones are so essential to helping people age with cognitive decline and also Parkinson's, Alzheimer's. So who do you feel that all this testing is good for? Who's your target market? Do you have one?
Absolutely. Obviously, for us, it's a big focus in the diabetic space for sure. With a lot of our devices being focused around the glucose and ketone space, we also have other devices as well that just focus on glucose and ketone readings. But then, of course, the Test and Go Advanced Voice, measuring all four, technically five if you count uric acid. But, as you mentioned, for the Dr. Boz ratio and so forth, it's good to have a device that can test all four within one. But for, big market focus for us is really that glucose and ketones area.
Yeah, and so you have good education on here as well in the app, some different resources for people as well. Good, except for, I must say, I hate the food plate. So if you can put an X on that, that would be the opposite way people to eat for their metabolic health and ketones, the grains and the on there and dairy to side. But the my plate thing isn't great. But back to testing. So if I did total cholesterol and I want to now test my glucose, do I need to put something in here to reset it? So I can just
No, you don't.
put them, okay. And
The
then
meter-
if I want to
the
do
meter-
ketones, I do.
Yeah, the meter defaults to glucose,
Yes.
so you don't have to put in a code key for glucose testing.
But
And
if
we-
I wanted to do ketones, I'd put that in and then turn it on.
Correct. Well,
I believe it's originally set up, so I guess calibrated for glucose and ketones, but any of so like lactate or total cholesterol, when you buy a box of test strips, any of them that will need to be programmed will come with that code key. And then if they don't come with the code key, that, it shows that the device does not need that. So glucose and ketones, you don't actually need a code key.
Okay, good. And so I should go on here and set the date up.
During measurement.
And then if people want to do their ketones, is it better to do it sitting or standing? It says to relax every time. Is there difference?
It's probably easier to do if you're sitting.
Yeah.
Well, easier, but is the results different? Or if I'm standing versus sitting, if I do 5-minute breath work? Does it matter?
I think if there's exercise involved, it can affect the number you get, but like if you quickly stand up and say, now I'm gonna do my test, I'm not sure if you're gonna get something radically different.
Successful.
Okay.
We did do a little test the other, was it last week? And for me, I was someone I work out fairly often and had tested mine, maybe taking the weekend off from working out and got a lactate reading of 7 or something. And then a day after did another reading and got up to 13. So, you can definitely see the change in parameters even after just call it 12 hours. But in regards to sitting or standing, I don't know if there's a huge difference there, but essentially sitting down would probably be a lot easier to take.
Cholesterol is.
So sorry, I got talking and I turned it off. So what if you do all this? Do you get any common questions that people that are using it that we want to cover? Any common frequently asked questions that we could cover?
I think most of the frequently asked questions we get in the support world here.
103 milligrams.
Sorry, just turn off.
Okay.
I
Most
need
of the
Siri.
questions
Can you tell Siri to turn it off? Siri, turn off my device.
Yeah, you press the M button and hold it and it'll turn it off.
Okay.
So most of the questions I've encountered are around using the code key, like, hey, what is this thing? Or, hey, I tried to use a cholesterol strip and it's not working. And so our response is, did you prep it with a code key? I don't know what that is. So, well, it's in the box with the strips and that's how you do it. So that's usually the most frequent question we get. Sometimes we'll get questions of how do I do a test? And we'll take them, A through Z, how to do it. Basically, sit down, make sure you have your lancing device ready to go with the lancet in it. Get your strip, make sure you got the code key in there. You've done the code key, open your strip, poke your finger, wipe away the first drop. We take them through the whole process. So we'll get that question a lot on our support line. But I think that the most frequent question I've seen is about the code key, that they haven't used it. How come it's not reading my cholesterol strips?
Yeah.
And I will say too, on our Fora Care website or Fora shop, you can go and click on this specific device And almost every single device does have an instructional video how to use. I believe one of our colleagues did send you an instructional video, but those are
Mhm.
very helpful as well. Kind of goes through exact process of what Eric just mentioned for each device and also each test strip as well.
Yeah, I think that helps. I think also what preparation, eating, doing it fasted, hydration, is there any, I would think, timing of when to do these tests,
Well,
get hydrated?
as you know, glucose can be affected by having a meal that
Yeah.
will affect your glucose level. So what I recommend to folks is take your test the same time every day. The glucose, if you're testing once per day, take it at the same time, like perhaps before breakfast every morning, to establish a baseline that you can determine is normal. And
Mhm.
you don't want to be all over the map. Like take it before breakfast one day and take it after a huge meal the next time, because your glucose numbers will be different, significantly different. So
Mhm.
my recommendation is try to confine the testing to the same time every day, um, at the same time in relation to whatever meal you may be planning to have.
And there optimal ranges that you have on here. I know for glucose, for example, in functional medicine, we like 70 to 90 fasted glucose, which will be higher probably for people in the morning, especially if you're early morning riser, as I am, the cortisol awakening response, your exercise, sauna, different things that will raise glucose. So learning about what is your normal for that specific time of day is essential. But do you have ranges to look at on when you sync it to the app for glucose and ketones?
Okay, so ballpark figures. I think glucose you want to be prior to a meal, you want to be under 100.
Okay.
Having a meal will raise it considerably. Um, the cholesterol, as we all know, we want to be under 200 total cholesterol. Um, for lactate, I believe the normal is the lower the better when you're in a resting state. And not having exercise, the lower the number, the better, or more accurate, most likely. If you have exercised recently, your lactate number will be higher. With the ketones, I'm trying to remember what normal is or standard,
I want to
but
say that the average range is anywhere from 0 to 2. I want to say if you're over 2, is that, don't quote me on that one, but I think
yeah,
that,
yeah,
Well,
yeah, that one I'll have to get back to you on
yeah.
that.
well, we say, I know I've done a lot of podcasts in the past with Keto Mojo and on ketones. Nutritional ketosis is 0.5
Hmm.
to 2, up to 5. I think there's a glucose meter
Mhm.
infographic I can share with people that Keto Mojo would share talking about ketones, but nutritional ketosis is showing, 0.1. Some people say 0.5, but in the optimal range, if you're trying to get nutritional ketosis, is like 1 to 5, I think.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think taking it as a glucose meter test after you eat, that 1 to 2 hours after you eat, is good test to do to see how well your glucose comes down, how well the macronutrient ratio, foods you ate. But it's a great experiment as we keep talking about movement after you eat, to help lower that glucose. And also, if you are starting exercise program, the importance of muscle health and having more glucose disposal with larger suitcases. Dr. Gabrielle Lyon talks about that. The more muscle you have, the more storage for that glucose. So you have larger suitcases you can stuff clothes into. That makes a difference too for people's muscle health and their glucose management. But movement after exercise, and then test, and then sometimes maybe just sit around after you eat and notice the difference too. So it's great little experiments, because it's all n equals 1, how to figure out all right, here are the numbers. But then my point, testing and not guessing, is what to do with that information and how to apply it to your food choices, your stress management, your lifestyle habits, your exercise routine, and learning how to adjust everything. So we are all about improving how we age and reducing that cognitive decline, or not having cognitive decline. Is ultimate goal is to not have brain health issues.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I appreciate your information. And where can people learn more to order a device and start their own experiments?
Well, our website is called fora-shop.com, FORA-SHOP.com. There are drop-down menus that you can select from there for home healthcare products. If you just need the strips, you already have the meter. There's a drop-down there for blood test strips.
Mhm.
You can go down there and just order the strips. But it's a pretty easy to navigate website. There's also a search bar in there. So if you're not getting what you want from the drop downs, you could just type into the search bar. You could type like test and go advanced voice, and it'll take you right to the page.
Yeah, and we also have the specific kits too. So, if you did want to buy specifically a lactate kit, we showed the box with the green label on the bottom. So we've got the different kits specifically for the Test and Go Advance and some of our other devices. You can also learn more on our corporate site, which is just ForaCare, so FORACARE.com. And then we also have another website as well called Fora Connect. So Fora, FORA, Connect. And same thing, you can look up if you're a physician or if you're a provider or healthcare, wellness coach, whatever it may be. We've kind of got a segment for everyone.
And
Right.
as Bill was saying, we have kits. This one is a kit, the one I'm holding. The
Okay.
green indicates that it's a lactate kit. So included with the device are 10 lactate strips, the lancing device, the lancets, the control solution, batteries for the unit. So that's in a kit. There's also like a ketone kit. If your focus is ketone, it'll have ketone strips in the box. But you can get the strips separate from the kit as well.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to finish up, but I have one more question. The lactate test, why do you feel that is important for testing lactate? Does anyone know why the company chose lactate?
Well, if your lactate reading is too high, that could indicate a health issue, especially if you have not been exercising recently. Lactic acid buildup could indicate that your body's not efficiently burning glucose, and so there might be something wrong. So, in my case, I don't work out like Dylan does, so my lactate number is going to be lower than his. In fact, we were just testing yesterday and comparing our numbers, and that's what showed up.
Mm-hmm.
So if I had the lactate kit and I was more involved in my health as I should be, and I tested my lactate, and all of a sudden it's at 7 or 8, I'd say, okay, I haven't worked out in the last several days. Something's wrong. My lactate's kind of high. Maybe I should go see the doctor. So just like
I don't know
any
if they can help, but
other
maybe a
parameters-
different type of doctor, not a medical doctor. They will be like, what? I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, just like with glucose. I mean, if you take a glucose test and it comes back 300, something's off, something's wrong. You don't want your glucose to be that high. So it's basically another key or signpost in your health as to how your body is functioning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, metabolism. Well, it's all about metabolic health, and I'll give a plug to Ben Bickman. Professor Ben Bickman has an excellent podcast. He did on metabolic health, his channel, YouTube channel, on the new research on lactate and how it's a fuel and how it's the future of metabolic health and brain health and cognitive decline, to see how much lactate is elevated in your body at rest. So it's a great indication of brain health if your body is not efficient at using glucose or insulin resistance. They're looking at now lactate levels. So that's why I was excited you guys came out with lactate measurements, because it's not just what people talk about in the exercise world as your lactate levels to be 2.2 millimoles or lower is related to how much fat you're burning in your zone 2. Where I do metabolism testing with Pinoy kit, we're actually measuring your oxygen and carbon dioxide ratio to determine how much fat, carbohydrate you're burning. But using lactate test during exercise can help, but also I think it's more important for the cognitive decline area that we should be looking at to be health optimizers to know what am I at rest. And I think that's more important picture to see for brain health and how you're using lactate as alternate fuel source. And Andy Gaplin did a great 2-hour podcast on his channel on lactate metabolism. So it's not lactic acid causing burn and fatigue. It's the new research that lactate is a fuel source, alternate fuel source that we use, and we can produce it and recycle it. So it's pretty fascinating information. So I appreciate you guys doing lactate, glucose, ketones all in one kit. I think it's great for people to want to take ownership of their health and work on being fit and healthy from the inside out, striving to thrive as we age and improve how we age by choosing to do this stuff sooner than later is the goal.
Excellent.
Don't wait till you're broken is the goal, right?
There you go. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks guys for your insight and little educational video. We appreciate that. And hopefully everyone will get a kit and share how they're doing and get metabolically healthy.
Sounds
Okay.
great.
Thank you.
Great chatting with you.